Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back here to the live studios here in Radha Lane. Dr. Brian is back from across town, moved closer in. Welcome to him. And to all the stalwarts, Rasikas, the ones who taste the rasa of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And to all of you out there in cyberspace, we thank you and thank you and thank you for coming regularly and visiting, and hearing the Bhagavatam regularly is the panacea of all inebrieties in this material world. Okay, let's go. We're going to hear the beautiful prayer, a deep, meaningful prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam by Srila Sanatana Goswami, one of our great previous acharyas and the senior disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Dotitaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshak Shadayate Sarvada Savasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Anandana Mostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu Saduta Dayan Atini Chuchatakara Hanamun Chagadachin Mam Premna Rit Kanta Yospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here we are in the 4th chapter of the 2nd canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami is describing the process of creation to Maharaj Parikshit in response to his question. We're beginning with text 22. May the Lord, who is the beginning of the creation, who in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. Purport. As we have already discussed herein before, the Lord, as the supersoul of all living beings from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, endows all with the required knowledge potent in every living being. A living being is sufficiently potent to possess knowledge from the Lord in the proportion of 56/4, or 78%, of the full knowledge acquirable. Since the living being is constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord, he is unable to assimilate all the knowledge that the Lord possesses himself. In the conditioned state, the living being is subject to forget everything after a change of body, known as death. This potent knowledge is again inspired by the Lord from within the heart of every living being, and it is known as the awakening of knowledge, for it is comparable to awakening from sleep or unconsciousness. This awakening of knowledge is under the full control of the Lord, and therefore we find in the practical world different grades of knowledge in different persons. This awakening of knowledge is neither an automatic nor a material interaction. The supply source is the Lord Himself, Dhyam Pati. For even Brahma is also subject to this regulation of the Supreme Creator. In the beginning of the creation, Brahma is born first, without any father and mother, because before Brahma, there were no other living beings. Brahma is born from the lotus, which grows from the abdomen of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and therefore he is known as Aja. This Brahma, or Aja, is also a living being, part and parcel of the Lord. But being the most pious devotee of the Lord, Brahma is inspired by the Lord to create, subsequent to the main creation by the Lord, through the agency of material nature. Therefore, neither the material nature nor Brahma is independent of the Lord. The material scientists can merely observe the reactions of the material nature without understanding the direction behind such activities, as a child can see the action of electricity without any knowledge of the powerhouse engineer. This imperfect knowledge of the material scientist is due to a poor fund of knowledge. The Vedic knowledge was therefore first impregnated within Brahma, and it appears that Brahma distributed the Vedic knowledge. Brahma is undoubtedly the speaker of the Vedic knowledge, but actually he was inspired by the Lord to receive such transcendental knowledge, as it directly descends from the Lord. The Vedas are therefore called Auparusheya, or not imparted by any created being. Before the creation of the Lord was there, Narayana Parovyaktat. And therefore the words spoken by the Lord are vibrations of the transcendental sound. Hey, Dr. John. There you go, spiritual revolutionary. Okay, finally, you've come out. Nice. The Vedas are therefore called Aparusheya, or not imparted by any created being. Before the creation of the Lord, there was Narayana Parovyaktat, and therefore the words spoken by the Lord are vibrations of transcendental sound. There is a gulf of difference between the two qualities of sound, namely prakrita and aprakrita. The physicist can deal only with the prakrita sound, or sound vibrated in the material sky. And therefore we must know that the Vedic sounds recorded in symbolic expressions cannot be understood by anyone within the universe unless and until one is inspired by the vibration of supernatural, aprakrita sound, which descends in the chain of disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, and so on. No mundane scholar can translate or reveal the true import of the Vedic mantras, hymns. They cannot be understood unless one is inspired or initiated by the authorized spiritual master. The original spiritual master is the Lord Himself, and the succession comes down through the sources of parampara, as clearly stated in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So unless one receives the transcendental knowledge from the authorized parampara, one should be considered useless, nishpala mataha, even though one may be greatly qualified in the mundane advancements of arts or science. Shukadeva Goswami is praying to the Lord by dint of being inspired from within by the Lord, so that he could rightly explain the facts and figures of creation. The facts and figures of creation. As inquired by Maharaj Parikshit. A spiritual master is not a theoretical speculator like a mundane scholar, but is Shrotriyam, Brahmanishtam, expert in understanding the Vedic conclusion in cyclic succession, and therefore constantly engaged in the service of your Lord. Text 23. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes, which are his generator, be pleased to decorate my statements. Purport. It's about time you found your proper chair. Purport. As a fully dependent devotee, Shukadeva Goswami, unlike a mundane man who is proud of his own capability, invokes the pleasure of the personality of Godhead so that his statements may be successful and be appreciated by the hearers. The devotee always thinks of himself as instrumental for anything successfully carried out, and he declines to take credit for anything done by himself. The godless atheist wants to take all credit for activities, not knowing that even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of the Supreme Spirit, the personality of Godhead. Shukadeva Goswami therefore wants to move by the direction of the Supreme Lord, who inspired Brahma to speak the Vedic wisdom. The truths described in the Vedic literatures are not theories of mundane imagination, nor are they fictitious, as the less intelligent class of men sometimes think. The Vedic truths are all perfect descriptions of the factual truth, without any mistake or illusion. And Shukadeva Goswami wants to present the truths of creation not as a metaphysical theory or philosophical speculation, but as the actual facts and figures of the subject, since he would be dictated to by the Lord exactly in the same manner as Brahmaji was inspired. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, the Lord is himself the father of the Vedanta knowledge, and it is he only who knows the factual purport of the Vedanta philosophy. So there is no greater truth than the principles of religion mentioned in the Vedas. Such Vedic knowledge or religion is disseminated by authorities like Shukadeva Goswami because he is a humble, devotional servitor of the Lord who has no desire to become a self-appointed interpreter without authority. That is the way of explaining the Vedic knowledge, technically known as the parampara system or descending process. The intelligent man can see without mistake that any material creation, whether one's own body or a fruit or flower, cannot beautifully grow up without the spiritual touch. The greatest intelligent man of the world, or the greatest man of science, can present everything very beautifully only insofar as the spirit life is there, or insomuch as the spiritual touch is there. Therefore, the source of all truths is the Supreme Spirit, and not gross matter, as wrongly conceived by the gross materialist. We get information from the Vedic literature that the Lord himself first entered the vacuum of the material universe, and thus all things gradually developed one after another. Similarly, the Lord is situated as localized Paramatma in every individual being. Hence, everything is done by him very beautifully. The 16 principal creative elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, and the 11 sense organs, first developed from the Lord himself and were thereby shared by the living entities. Thus, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord, and the individual living entity can only pray to the Lord to understand it properly. Since the Lord is the supreme entity, different from Shukadeva Goswami, the prayer can be offered to him. The Lord helps the living entity to enjoy the material creation, but the Lord is aloof from such false enjoyment. Shukadeva prays for the mercy of the Lord, not only for being helped personally in presenting the truth, but also for helping others to whom he would like to speak. Text 24. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Vasudeva, who compiled the Vedic scriptures. The pure devotees drink up the nectarian transcendental knowledge, dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. Purport. In pursuance of the specific utterance Vedase, or the compiler of the system of transcendental knowledge, Srila Sridhar Swami has commented that the respectful obeisances are offered to Srila Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Vasudeva. Srila Jiva Goswami has agreed to this, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has made a further advance, namely that the nectar from the mouth of Lord Krishna is transferred to his different consorts, and thus they learn the finer arts of music, dance, dressing, decorations, and all such things which are relished by the Lord. Such music, dance, and decorations enjoyed by the Lord are certainly not anything mundane, because the Lord is addressed in the very beginning as para, or transcendental. This transcendental knowledge is unknown to the forgetful, conditioned souls. Srila Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of the Lord, thus compiled the Vedic literatures to revive the lost memory of the conditioned souls about their eternal relation with the Lord. One should therefore try to understand the Vedic scriptures, or the nectar transferred by the Lord to his consorts in the conjugal humor, from the lotus-like mouth of Vyasadeva or Shukadeva. By gradual development of transcendental knowledge, one can rise to the stage of the transcendental arts of music and dance displayed by the Lord in his Rasa Lila. But without having the Vedic knowledge, one can hardly understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's Rasa dance and music. The pure devotees of the Lord, however, can equally relish the nectar in the form of the profound philosophical discourses and in the form of kissing by the Lord in the Rasa dance, as there is no mundane distinction between the two. Hare Krishna. Text 25. My dear King, Brahma, the firstborn, on being questioned by Narada, exactly apprised him on this subject, as it was directly spoken by the Lord to his own son, who was impregnated with Vedic knowledge from his very birth. Purport. As soon as Brahma was born in the abdominal lotus petals of Vishnu, he was impregnated with Vedic knowledge, and therefore he is known as Vedagarbha, or a Vedantist from the embryo. Without Vedic knowledge, or perfect infallible knowledge, no one can create anything. All scientific knowledge and perfect knowledge are Vedic. One can get all types of information from the Vedas, and as such, Brahma was impregnated with all perfect knowledge, so that it was possible for him to create. Thus Brahma knew the perfect description of creation, as it was exactly apprised to him by the Supreme Lord Hari. Brahma, on being questioned by Narada, told Narada exactly what he had heard directly from the Lord. Narada again told exactly the same thing to Vyasa, and Vyasa also told Shukadeva exactly what he heard from Narada. And Shukadeva was going to repeat the same statements as he had heard them from Vyasa. That is the way of Vedic understanding. The language of the Vedas can be revealed only by the above-mentioned disciplic succession and not otherwise. There is no use in theories. Knowledge must be factual. There are many things that are complicated, and one cannot understand them unless they are explained by one who knows. The Vedic knowledge is also very difficult to know and must be learned by the above-mentioned system. Otherwise, it is not at all understood. Shukadeva Goswami therefore prayed for the mercy of the Lord so that he might be able to repeat the very same message that was spoken directly by the Lord to Brahma, or what was spoken by Brahma to Narada. Therefore, the statements of creation explained by Shukadeva Goswami are not at all, as the mundaners suggest, theoretical, but are perfectly correct. One who hears these messages and tries to assimilate them gets perfect information of the material creation. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 4th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Process of Creation. So that's obviously an introduction to this process. Okay, chapter 5, the cause of all causes. Text 1. Sri Narada Muni asked Brahmaji, O chief amongst the demigods, O firstborn living entity, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Please tell me that transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the supersoul. Purport. The perfection of the parampara system, or the path of disciplic succession, is further confirmed. In the previous chapter, it has been established that Brahmaji, the firstborn living entity, received knowledge directly from the Supreme Lord, and the same knowledge was imparted to Narada, the next disciple. Narada asked to receive the knowledge, and Brahmaji imparted it upon being asked. Therefore, asking for transcendental knowledge from the right person and receiving it properly is the regulation of the disciplic succession. This process is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. The inquisitive student must approach a qualified spiritual master to receive transcendental knowledge by surrender, submissive inquiries, and service. Knowledge received by submissive inquiries and service is more effective than knowledge received in exchange for money. A spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from Brahma and Narada has no demand for dollars and cents. A bona fide student has to satisfy him by sincere service to obtain knowledge of the relation and nature of the individual soul and the supersoul. Text 2. My dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done? Purport. The inquiries by Narada Muni on the basis of factual cause and effect appear very reasonable. The atheists, however, put forward many self-made theories without any touch of cause and effect. The manifested world, as well as the spirit soul, is still unexplained by the godless atheists through the medium of experimental knowledge, although they have put forward many theories manufactured by their fertile brains. Contrary to such mental speculative theories of creation, however, Narada Muni wanted to know all the facts of creation in truth, and not by theories. Transcendental knowledge regarding the soul and the supersoul includes knowledge of the phenomenal world and the basis of its creation. In the phenomenal world, three things are factually observed by any intelligent man: the living beings, the manifest world, and the ultimate control over them. The intelligent man can see that neither the living entity nor the phenomenal world are creations of chance. The symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them. And by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause with the help of one who knows them factually. Text 3. My dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, and whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe, is within your grip, just like a walnut. Purport. Amalaka. So amalaka is a fruit that you can hold like this in India, but Prabhupada translated walnut because in the West we wouldn't know what amalaka means. This is the art of translating. You don't translate literally because that way the person's, versed in the language you translate into won't understand what's being meant. Okay. Just like a walnut, Brahma has the whole universe and every bit of knowledge in his grip. Purport. Brahma is the direct creator of the manifested universe and everything within the universe. He therefore knows what happened in the past, what will happen in the future, and what is happening at present. Three principal items, namely the living being, the phenomenal world, and the controller, are all in continuous action, present, past, present, and future. And the direct manager is supposed to know everything of such actions and reactions, as one knows about a walnut within the grip of one's palm. The direct manufacturer of a particular thing is supposed to know how he learned the art of manufacturing, where he got the ingredients, how he set it up, and how the products in the manufacturing process are being turned out. Because Brahma is the firstborn living being, naturally, he is supposed to know everything about creative functions. Text 4. My dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? Purport. It was known to Sri Narada Muni that Lord Brahma attained creative energy by undergoing severe austerities. As such, he could understand that there was someone else superior to Brahmaji who invested Brahma with the power of creation. Therefore, he asked all the above questions. Discoveries of progressive scientific achievements are therefore not independent. The scientist has to attain the knowledge of a thing already existing by means of the wonderful brain made by someone else. A scientist can work with the help of such an awarded brain, but it is not possible for the scientist to create his own or a similar brain. Therefore, no one is independent in the matter of any creation, nor is such creation automatic. Text 5. As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. Purport. The best example of self-sufficiency is the sun. The sun does not require to be illuminated by any other body. Rather, it is the sun which helps all other illuminating agents. For in the presence of the sun, no other illuminating agent becomes prominent. Narada compared the position of Brahma to the self-sufficiency of the spider, who creates its own field of activities without any other's help by employment of its own energetic creation of saliva. Text 6. Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal or temporary, is not created but from any source other than that of your Lordship, thou so great. Purport. The manifested world is full of varieties of created beings in 8,400,000 species of life, and some of them are superior and inferior to others. In human society, the human being is considered to be the superior living being, and amongst the human beings there are also different varieties, good, bad, equal, etc. But Narada Muni took for granted that none of them has any source of generation besides his father, Brahmaji. Therefore he wanted to know all about them from Lord Brahma. Text 7. Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. Purport. Following in the footsteps of Sri Narada Muni, one should not blindly accept his spiritual master as God himself. A spiritual master is duly respected on a par with God, but a spiritual master claiming to be God himself should be at once rejected. Narada Muni accepted Brahma as the supreme due to Lord Brahma's wonderful acts in creation, but doubts arose in him when he saw that Lord Brahma also worshipped some superior authority. The supreme is supreme, and he has no worshipable superior. The ahangraho pasita, or the one who worships himself with the idea of becoming God himself, is misleading, but the intelligent disciple can at once detect that the Supreme God does not need to worship anyone, including himself, in order to become God. Ahangraho pasana may be one of the processes for transcendental realization, but the ahangraho pasatita can never be God himself. No one becomes God by undergoing a process of transcendental realization. Narada Muni thought of Brahmaji as the Supreme Person, but when he saw Brahmaji engaged in the process of transcendental realization, doubts arose in him, so he wanted to be clearly informed. Text 8. My dear Father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all that I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me, so that I may be able to understand it as your student. Purport. The inquiries made by Narada Muni are very important for everyone concerned, and as such, Narada requested Brahmaji to deem them suitable so that all others who may come in the line of disciplic succession of Brahma Sampradaya may also know them properly without any difficulty. Text 9. Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Narada, being merciful to all, including me, you have asked all these questions and thus inspired me to see into the prowess of the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Purport. Brahmaji, being so questioned by Naradaji, congratulated him, for it is usual for the devotees to become very enthusiastic whenever they are questioned concerning the Almighty Personality of Godhead. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Such discourses on the transcendental activities of the Lord purify the atmosphere in which such discussions are held, and the devotees thus become enlivened while answering such questions. It is purifying both for the questioners and for one who answers the questions. The pure devotees are not satisfied only by knowing everything about the Lord. They are also eager to... let's hear this again. The pure devotees are not satisfied only by knowing everything about the Lord, they are also eager to broadcast the information to others, for they want to see that the glories of the Lord are known to everyone. Thus, the devotee feels satisfied when such an opportunity is offered to him. This is the basic principle of missionary activities. Text 10. Whatever you have spoken about me is not false, but unless and until one is aware of the personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate truth beyond me, one is sure to be illusioned by observing my powerful activities. Purport. The frog and the well logic illustrates that a frog residing in the atmosphere and boundary of a well cannot imagine the length and breadth of the gigantic ocean. Such a frog, when informed of the gigantic length and breadth of the ocean, first of all does not believe that there is such an ocean, and if someone assures him that factually there is such a thing, the frog then begins to measure it by imagination, by means of pumping its belly as far as possible, with the result that the tiny abdomen of the frog bursts and the poor frog dies without any experience of the actual ocean. Similarly, the material scientists also want to challenge the inconceivable potency of the Lord by measuring him with their frog-like brains and their scientific achievements. But at the end, they simply die unsuccessfully, like frogs. Sometimes, a materially powerful man is accepted as God, or the incarnation of God, without any knowledge of the factual God. Such a material assessment may be gradually extended, and the attempt may reach to the highest limit of Brahmaji, who is the topmost living being within the universe, and has a duration of life unimaginable to the material scientist. As we get information from the most authentic book of knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmaji's one day and night is calculated to be some hundreds of thousands of years of on our planet. This long duration of life may not be believed by the frog in the well, but persons who have a realization of the truths mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita accept the existence of a great personality who creates the variegatedness of the complete universe. It is understood from the revealed scriptures that the Brahmaji of this universe is younger than all the other Brahmas in charge of the many, many universes beyond this, but none of them can be equal to the personality of Godhead. Naradaji is one of the liberated souls, and after his liberation, he was known as Narada. Otherwise, before his liberation, he was simply a son of a maidservant. The questions may be asked why Naradaji was not aware of the Supreme Lord, and why he misconceived Brahmaji to be the Supreme Lord, although factually he was not. A liberated soul is never bewildered by such a mistaken idea. So why did Naradaji ask all those questions, just like an ordinary man with a poor fund of knowledge? There was such bewilderment in Arjuna also, although he is eternally the associate of the Lord. Such bewilderment in Arjuna or in Narada takes place by the will of the Lord, so that other non-liberated persons may realize the real truth and knowledge of the Lord. The doubt arising in the mind of Narada about Brahmaji's becoming all-powerful is a lesson for the frogs in the well, that they may not be bewildered in misconceiving the identity of the personality of Godhead, even by comparison to a personality like Brahma. So what to speak of ordinary men who falsely pose themselves as God or an incarnation of God. The Supreme Lord is always the Supreme, and as we have tried to establish many times in these purports, no living being, even up to the standard of Brahma, can claim to be one with the Lord. One should not be misled when people worship a great man as God after his death as a matter of hero worship. There are many kings like Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, but none of them are mentioned as God in the revealed scriptures. To be a good king is not necessarily the qualification for being Lord Rama, But to be a great personality like Krishna is the qualification for being the personality of Godhead. If we scrutinize the characteristics, if we scrutinize the characters who took part in the battle of Kurukshetra, we may find that Maharaj Yudhishthira was no less a pious king than Lord Ramachandra. And by character study, Maharaj Yudhishthira was a better moralist than Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna asked Maharaj Yudhishthira to lie, but Maharaj Yudhishthira protested. But that does not mean that Maharaj Yudhishthira could be equal to Lord Ramachandra or Lord Krishna. The great authorities have estimated Maharaj Yudhishthira to be a pious man, but they have accepted Lord Rama or Krishna as the personality of Godhead. The Lord is therefore a different identity in all circumstances, and no idea of anthropomorphism can be applied to him. The Lord is always the Lord, and a common living being can never be equal to him. Text 11. I create after the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence, known as the Brahmajyoti. Just as when the sun manifests its fire, the moon, the firmament, the influential planets, and the twinkling stars are also manifest their brightness. Purport. Lord Brahmaji said to Narada that his impression that Brahma was not the supreme authority in the creation was correct. I'll read that again. Lord Brahmaji said to Narada that his impression that Brahma was not the supreme authority in the creation was correct. Sometimes less intelligent men have the foolish impression that Brahma is the cause of all causes. But Narada wanted to clear the matter by the statements of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe. As the decision of the Supreme Court of a state is final, similarly the judgment of Brahmaji, the supreme authority in the universe, is final in the Vedic process of acquiring knowledge. As we have already affirmed in the previous verse, Naradaji was a liberated soul. Therefore, he was not one of the less intelligent men who accept a false god or gods in their own ways. He represented himself as less intelligent, and yet intelligently presented a doubt to be cleared by the supreme authority, so that the uninformed might take note of it and be rightly informed about the intricacies of the creation and the Creator. In this verse, Brahmaji clears up the wrong impression held by the less intelligent and affirms that he creates the universal variegatedness after the material potencies are created by the glaring effulgence of Lord Sri Krishna. Brahmaji has also separately given this statement in the Samhita known as the Brahma Samhita, where he says, Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shvashesha Vashudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantamashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental bodily effulgence, known as the Brahmajyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomed, and all-pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited numbers of planets, etc., with varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. The same statement is in the Bhagavad Gita, 14:27. Lord Krishna is the background of the Brahmajyoti. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. In the Nirukti, or Vedic dictionary, the import of pratishta is mentioned as that which establishes. So the Brahmajyoti is not independent or self-sufficient. Lord Sri Krishna is ultimately the creator of the Brahmajyoti, mentioned in this verse as Sarochisa, or the effulgence of the transcendental body of the Lord. This Brahmajyoti is all-pervading, and all creation is made possible by its potent power. Therefore, the Vedic hymns declare that everything that exists is being sustained by the Brahmajyoti, Sarvam Kalavidam Brahma. Therefore, the potent seed of all creation is the Brahmajyoti, and the same Brahmajyoti, unlimited and unfathomed, is established by the Lord. Therefore, the Lord Sri Krishna is ultimately the supreme cause of all creation, aham sarvasya prabhava. One should not expect the Lord to create like a blacksmith with a hammer and other instruments. The Lord creates by his own potencies. He has multifarious potencies, parasya shaktir, vividaiva shruyate. Just as the small seed of a banyan tree has the potency to create a big banyan tree, the Lord disseminates all varieties of seeds by his potent Brahmajyoti, Sarochisa, and the seeds are made to develop by the watering process of persons like Brahma. Brahma cannot create the seeds, but he can manifest the seed into a tree, just as a gardener helps plants in orchards to grow by the watering process. The example cited here of the sun is very appropriate. In the material world, the sun is the cause of all illumination, fire, electricity, the rays of the moon, etc. All luminaries in the sky are creations of the sun. The sun is the creation of the Brahmajyoti, and the Brahmajyoti is the effulgence of the Lord. Thus, the ultimate cause of creation is the Lord. Text 12. I offer my obeisances and meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna, Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, whose invincible potency influences them, the less intelligent class of men, to call me the supreme controller. As it will be more clearly explained in the next verse, no purport, word, purport, missing. Hare Krishna, Haribo. Make a note. The word purport is missing in 2:5:12. Huh?
Oh, the word.
The word purport is missing. As will be more clearly explained in the next verse, the illusory potency of the Lord bewilders the less intelligent to accept Brahmaji, or for that matter any other person, as the Supreme Lord. Brahmaji, however, refuses to be called this, and he directly offers his respectful obeisances unto Lord Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, as he has already offered the same respects to him in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Lord is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord in his transcendental body, the ultimate cause of all causes. I worship that primeval Lord, Govinda. Brahmaji is conscious of his actual position, and he knows how less intelligent persons, bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord, whimsically accept someone, anyone, and everyone as God. A responsible personality like Brahmaji refuses to be addressed as the Supreme Lord by his disciples or subordinates, but foolish persons, praised by the men of the nature of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, feel flattered to be addressed as the Supreme Lord. Why such persons take pleasure in being addressed as God, or why such persons are addressed as God by foolish admirers, is explained in the following verse. Text 13. The illusory energy of the Lord cannot take precedence, being ashamed of her position, but those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine. Purport. The invincibly powerful deluding energy of the personality of Godhead, or the third energy, representing nations, can bewilder the entire world of animation, but still she is not strong enough to be able to stand in front of the Supreme Lord. Nations is behind the personality of Godhead, where she is powerful enough to mislead living beings. And the primary symptom of bewildered persons is that they talk nonsense. Nonsensical talks are not supported by the principles of the Vedic literatures. And first grade nonsense talk is, it is I, it is mine. A godless civilization is exclusively conducted by such false ideas, and such persons, without any factual realization of God, accept a false God, or falsely declare themselves to be God, to mislead persons who are already bewildered by the deluding energy. Those who are before the Lord, however, and who surrender unto Him, cannot be influenced by the deluding energy. Therefore they are free from the misconception of it is I, it is mine, and therefore they do not accept a false God or pose themselves as equal to the Supreme Lord. Identification of the bewildered person is distinctly given in this verse. Text 14. So we'll stop here because now it's going to start explaining the different divisions of the creation, the good place, stopping place. So, now that we all know what the truth is about the creation, we can hear our... You got some sun. Did you get some sun?
Yeah, a little bit. Out in it a little bit.
I thought so. Okay. Time for reflections. Anything that stuck out of your mind while we're reading? Anything we want to discuss further? Anything we want to know? Anything, we want to tell us? Yes, Brian.
The frog and the whale syndrome, man, that's what's going on right now.
You could say that again.
Huh?
You could say that again.
Yeah, that's what's happening to society right now.
Yeah.
That's why we all detached from each other and we're not on the same consciousness.
That's right. Exactly.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah. It's simple. So simple.
Yeah.
But so deep at the same time.
Yeah.
We're fighting, we're conflicting, we're doing things simply because we're the body. We're thinking with the body.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And that's why we stay at the same level, the same consciousness that we all are at.
Exactly.
It's because we can't get to a higher consciousness. But as people of the universe, as people of this.
Exactly. Exactly. So without this understanding, without this knowledge that there is actually a Supreme Source, and that Supreme Source is a person, we don't have a feeling of responsibility, ultimate responsibility to anyone. And that feeling allows us to act any way we want.
Right.
And that's the influence of illusory energy. And therefore it says in that purport that the illusory energy cannot stand in front of the Lord. She's embarrassed. You know. I'm sure you've been in a situation where someone is like embarrassed to be in front of someone who's very much more knowledgeable than you. It's happened to me a few different times. I'm sure it happens to everyone. When I was in front of Prabhupada, it was, imagine who could write all this, see it clearly. It was deep. To be in front of him was very deep. Sometimes, even though you were very expert at something, when he was around, you'd make some mistakes that you just normally wouldn't make. Then he would say, that is the Guru Tattva, causing you to do things wrong so that I can correct you. So that's basically what's happening here. Narada's asking his father, and it's at the very beginning of the universe, and therefore you can say that Narada is being raised by Brahma in a sense, and he's instructing him. And that's how we all get knowledge, every single one of us in this world. We come in with what? With what knowledge we come in? Nothing.
It's only about, we have innate knowledge our body does, but we actually don't.
That's right. No, just the opposite. Our body doesn't, but we actually do.
I would always think because we never learn how to make our heart beat. We never learn how to digest our food. It seems like,
Exactly. Yes. Bhakta Matt. No, that's okay. And keep on asking and keep on speaking your realizations. Very nice. Very nice.
Well, we read this morning in the Sri Chaitanya
Charitamrita.
I'm in trouble with that word. That, obviously, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God, is Krishna, an incarnation of Krishna, but he also worshipped Krishna at the same time. And then in the text 10, it says that one of the distinctions between Brahma and the Supreme Lord is that he does not worship himself.
Mm-hmm.
So why would Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worship Krishna if he is Krishna? Worship himself, like a parent.
Because he wants to know himself. And there's only one way that he can know himself, and that's to take the position of Srimati Radharani, because he didn't take the position of just any devotee. He took the position of the mood of Srimati Radharani, and that was actually the internal reason why he came. He came for 3 reasons or 4 reasons. The first reason is to show to the world or give the world the process for this particular age to realize Krishna. That's the Sankirtan movement, Yuga Dharma. So he came to deliver that. And not only that, he came to deliver the ultimate goal of it, and that is pure love of God. And then he has his own personal reasons. He wanted to know what it was about Radharani, or what it was about him that caused Radharani to love him so much.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So he came in order to find that out. He tried, but he couldn't, because they're eternally 2 persons, even though they're the same soul. They're 2 persons in the same soul in 2 bodies. The energetic source and the energy. That's why all the material persons in this universe are looking for their soulmates. It's a reflection. It's actually a perverted reflection of that original relationship that Radha and Krishna have in the spiritual world. That's why we came to this world. So it's not possible to find your soulmate here in this material world, because all the forms are temporary, as Brian is saying. We can't know, because we're covered over. We don't even know, how our digestion's working. We don't know how many hairs are on our head, what to speak of, what's out there in the universe, what to speak of who's God and what we are and all those things. So there's only one way to find that out. That's why there was a very interesting word in the beginning of this reading. It was vijnana. Vijnana means realized knowledge. There's 2 words, jnana, which means knowledge, and vijnana means the application or the practical realization of that knowledge. So this knowledge coming down from the Bhagavatam is not theoretical. It's not somebody's theory. In other words, Brahma did his austerities, and Krishna, now we'll hear about this. We're going to hear about this next. When Narada keeps inquiring, Brahma brings it out. Why he performs austerities. Because remember, that's what caused Narada to inquire. It looks to me like everything's coming from you, because he's right there at the beginning of the universe. He sees it right from the beginning. This is vijnana. This is realized knowledge. If somebody's over on the other side of the wall, and you hear a noise, and you try to figure out what's going on over there, and you can, maybe you'll guess it right, maybe not, but you can't know for sure. Somebody comes through the door and says, "Oh, this is what's going over there." That's vijnana. That's realized knowledge. So even if you may not be perfect enough to see through the wall and see what's going on the other side of the wall, if someone comes through the door who's honest and tells the truth, then you can know what's on the other side of the door. And that's exactly the principle that's being discussed here in a nutshell, in a very essential, simplified form. And then that idea is passed down from one person to another. And we are sitting here reading Prabhupada's books. And that's why I've chosen this method of reaching especially new persons, to give them the source, the clear, unadulterated, not speculated upon sound that's coming down from this disciplic succession without being changed. And we won't be cheated. If we hear this and accept it and act on it, we won't be cheated. And that's hard, because we've been cheated so many times by so many people in so many lifetimes. That's the gist of why it's so difficult. Yes, Hannah.
Okay, this is a question from Jai Shri.
Jai Shri. Oh, ask Jai Shri. Oh, well, I'm asking Jai. You don't have to ask her. Jai Shri, when is Asit Krishna Maharaj coming back to Govardhan?
And this is her question.
But okay, but please give the answer and type it out,
Yeah.
so that Hannah can tell me. Okay, go ahead.
From Purport 2:422, is initiation by a bona fide spiritual master a must for one to understand the Vedic knowledge? Many devotees practice seriously, but somehow did not receive initiation due to various reasons. Your servant, Jai Shri.
You can understand something, and the sound is potent and the knowledge is potent, but in order to understand fully and to be able to return to the spiritual world, one has to please the personalities above you. And that's what pleases them, because that's the system. It's like if you're the son of a high court judge, you may get some opportunities to see the workings of a high court judge, and you may be inclined, or you may become more qualified in that sense. But unless you actually go to the school and pass the tests and get the degrees, and then go to the bar and then do your internship, you can't practice as a lawyer or a judge. It's not possible. So like that, the knowledge is there, but until you actually study, just like when you go to the doctor, what is on his wall? He's always got his degrees, his certificates, his graduation diplomas from the authorities that he learned from, to give us faith. Otherwise, the quacks, or they make them up sometimes. It happens, especially in third world countries. They'll make up their own certificates, put them up there, and then quack away, Yes.
If a person worships like an incarnation of, like not Krishna in his actual form, like for example, like Lord Rama, do they still achieve liberation, even though it's not? They don't know Krishna in his.
Rama is Krishna.
Yeah, I know, but it's like not.
There's a planet in the spiritual world, which Ramachandra presides over, which is the destination for persons who worship the form of Krishna as Ramachandra.
Is one better than the other?
No. I mean, there's a way to analyze it that there's more intimacy in Goloka Vrindavan, but there are souls who naturally want to be in that relationship with Lord Ramachandra. And so for them, it is perfect. Perfect for them, and they're perfectly satisfied. And they have prema. They have pure love for Lord Ramachandra. And that means they have pure love for Krishna, but in another form.
So what about if they know Krishna in his form?
Just like when the brother of Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis his name was Anupama. And Rupa and Sanatana heard about Lord Chaitanya. They approached Lord Chaitanya. They were accepted by Lord Ramachandra. And they, in fact, were eternally Krishna's servants in the spiritual world. Radha's service, actually, more specifically. And so their brother was younger. So they began this ecstatic, hearing and chanting and discussing about Krishna after they met Lord Chaitanya, and they wanted their brother to share it, wanted to share it with their brother. But he was a devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So because he respected them so much, when they preached to him about Krishna, so please come with us and let's chant Hare Krishna together and let's hear the pastimes of Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he felt inclined because of the attachment he had for them and respect that he had as elder brothers. So then that night he went to sleep, and he couldn't sleep, and he was crying all night, just in anticipation of worshipping someone else besides Lord Ramachandra. So in the morning he came to them with tears in his eyes and said, I'm sorry, I can't leave my Raghunath, my Lord Ramachandra. It's not possible. So please forgive me. And they both became ecstatic. And when Lord Ramachandra heard about his death, because then not long after that he died, Anupama, when they were gone and when he was going with Rupa Goswami to Lord Chaitanya, he died along the way. Or was it with Sanatana Goswami? I can't remember. He was with either one of them, but they were traveling to meet Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, and on the way he died. I think it was Rupa. Must have been. Yeah. And then Lord Chaitanya himself started to glorify, Anupam. And Rupa Goswami told him about what happened before to Lord Chaitanya, and he began to glorify Anupam as a great devotee of Lord Krishna. When Lord Chaitanya had a very special 24-hour period where he sat on the throne, the altar of Shivas, and showed one by one to each one of his intimate devotees the form that they were worshipping in their hearts of the Supreme Lord. And if they were worshipping Lord Ramachandra, his form would turn into Lord Ramachandra. If they were worshipping Varaha, his form would turn into Lord Varaha. That is called the Mahaprakash, the great vision, the great darshan that Lord Chaitanya gave all of his followers. And at the end, he said, I will be your Nishingadev, I will be your Ramachandra, I will be your Varaha, I will be whoever you want me to be, but now I want you to help me spread this Sankirtan movement, and this love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even though they were assistants of Lord Chaitanya, preaching the glories of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and chanting, in their hearts, they were devotees of another form of Lord Krishna, and therefore they got that perfection by worshipping Lord Chaitanya. Actually, the varieties of Krishna's forms are caused by the desires of his absolutely pure devotees who worship that form. Yes.
Different names have different potencies. So does that make a difference in,
Not different names of Krishna don't have different potencies.
I thought that if you chant Rama 3 times is equal to chanting
Yeah.
Vishnu 1,000 times.
That's right.
If you chant Krishna 1 time is equal to chanting Rama
3 times, that's right. But it's the same potency. All the names have the same potency, but they're not manifest. It's not that Lord Ramachandra is any less potent than Krishna.
Well, I understand that.
But he's not manifesting everything. He's the same person. He's an expansion of the same person. But he doesn't show all of the attributes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of those forms are within Krishna. They all emanate from him. But it's not that there's a time when there wasn't Lord Ramachandra and there was just Krishna. Those forms are both eternal. But in order to understand the relationship between the forms, we talk about one emanating from the other. And actually, the fact is, in Goloka Vrindavan, in the pastimes of Krishna on the earth, Krishna would sometimes manifest some of his different incarnations to the cowherd boys out in the forest when they were playing. Because, that's what makes Krishna's pastimes different. They're more intimate, they're more spontaneous, because he agrees to become subordinate. In other words, in the other spiritual planets, he doesn't have an older brother in Vaikuntha, tell him what to do. Older brother is, like, okay, go over here to the table. When Mother Yashoda used to send the boys out, she would always, give them their lunch pails, make sure they all had hankies, and mother, and make sure they she'd put amulets on Krishna to protect him from the, and then she would tell all the boys, now Balaram, you stand here, and Sridharma, you stand here, and this one stand here, and that, to protect Krishna. You should all protect Krishna. So this is the sweetness of Vrindavan, as opposed to the other places and the other incarnations of Krishna. There's a spontaneity that's sweeter, because the Lord becomes controlled by that love. So in that sense, you can analyze it as being superior, but it's not superior. It's not superior.
So
It's just of a different mood. What?
Lakshman was the younger brother?
Of Ramachandra?
Yes.
Yes. Ramachandra was the elder brother.
Balaram was the only time Balaram was the older brother, and that was the only time Krishna had an older brother.
No, it's not a matter of had. Lord Krishna is eternal, and Lord Balaram is eternal. In the spiritual world, Krishna doesn't have an older brother or a father or a mother or any elder. He's the source of everything and everyone. But those forms are there eternally in the spiritual world as different relationships to show different, to have. So Krishna can enjoy fully. That's why in this world we need variety to enjoy. You put anybody in a room, with all the lights out, or, full light, no darkness, and just put him there by himself. That's what solitary confinement means. That's not a good thing. That's what they do to the ultimate punishment, is put somebody in a cell, solitary confinement. The impersonalist thinks that's the ultimate goal, which shows just how stupid they are, or how uninformed, or how ignorant they are. Okay? That's it, folks. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, all of you, for your... Oh, what about my question about Asit Krishna?
She said I need to check and reply to you later.
Okay. Make it sooner than later. Hare Krishna. Okay. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Brahmaji ki jai. Shri Narada Muni ki jai. Shri Gaur Premanandi. Hare Hare Bol.